My name is Angela Watson, and I work with the Farm Service Agency. I wish that I could be there in person. I planned to be there in person today, but I live a little bit further south in the state, and we got quite a bit more snow, with more supposed to be coming today. So I hope everyone there is staying warm, but I was not able to make the journey up to be there in person today. So I'm presenting to you virtually. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and jump into my planned program. There should be plenty of time for questions. We'll figure out the best way to handle those at the end of the presentation. So if something comes along while I'm speaking, make a note, and we will definitely get back to it. And in case I forget to say it later, since I am not there in person, if you would like my contact information, Savannah does have my email and phone number and can provide that to you. Some of you may already have it because I participate in a lot of these, so you may already be aware of my contact information. But if you need it, I'm sure Savannah can get it for you, or Joni Nelson will be happy to do that as well. All right, let me get my screen share going here. So today I was asked to speak to you guys about some financing options, some ways that Farm Service Agency in particular can help support your farming operation through our programs, our loans, and other options. So some of you, as I said, may already have met me. I am the beginning farmer coordinator for Kentucky. But that title just means I work with new farmers as well as all of our historically underserved producer groups. And today, in that role, I also represent other USDA agencies, but they are going to be speaking to you after me today. So today I'm focused solely on Farm Service Agency. If you aren't already connected and working with FSA, that should be next on your to-do list. In fact, if you want to work with any of the producer-facing USDA agencies, really FSA, NRCS, and RMA, then your first stop does need to be with FSA. And when you register your land with FSA, we will give you a farm number, and that farm number is used throughout all of the programs that the USDA agencies do, as well as a lot of the programs administered through our state extension services, Kentucky Department of Ag, and various other organizations, and can even be used to help you get your tax exempt certification for tax-related purchases. So that's definitely the first thing you want to do. Hopefully, most, if not all of you listening to me today already have your farm number. But if you don't, please definitely check that out. If you're not sure where your service center is located to make that visit and get that process started, you can go to farmers.gov, and at the bottom of that page, there is a service center locator, and that will tell you which of the 64 service centers takes care of your county. And most of those service centers also are co-located within RCS, and some have a rural development office located, and some also have a farm loan service center there. And we will be talking more about loans as we go through this presentation. As a broad overview, FSA has two primary focuses. We have farm programs and we have farm loans. Some of you may already farm programs. These include various programs put into place by the Farm Bill that Congress implements every 4-ish years, 4 to 5 years. They are disaster assistance programs, conservation programs, safety net programs, and risk management programs. Our disaster programs range everywhere from compensating producers for cattle losses due to weather conditions such as the extreme cold we have all been dealing with over the last week, as well as recovery programs when disaster strikes and you need to clean up the land and put it back in order so that you can produce it again. We also get a number of ad hoc programs that Congress implements outside of the Farm Bill, and often these are disaster assistance programs as well. We've seen a number of those over the last several years, because of the pandemic, various trade mitigation issues, and other issues that Congress wants to offer assistance to producers. So participating in those programs, while that is not a guaranteed payment or an easy way of generating a revenue stream, they are good safety net and assistance programs when emergencies and disaster strike, or when some of our other safety net programs include price support for corn, soybeans, wheat, and other big commodities. When the marketing price falls, we also have programs for a similar situation for dairy farmers. All of those things are just ways of helping mitigate some of the things that we can't plan for, right? And so those are the kinds of things that we offer on the farm program side. And then our farm loans, we have ownership loans, operating loans, micro loans, and guaranteed loans. We're going to talk in depth about those coming up soon. So, like I said, we have various different farm loan programs, direct loans and guaranteed loans, as well as a beginning farmer down payment loan. These loans have designated pools of funding that, especially for underserved producer groups, and those include minorities, veterans, and beginning farmers. And they can be, we also have microloans in those, and then, as I mentioned, that down payment loan. When it comes to FSA farm loans, we are considered a lender of first opportunity. The goal with our loans is to help you grow and graduate through what we call a supervised credit process into conventional lending. So most of our loans are, like I said, they're a supervised credit. So that means we're looking at things a little different than a conventional bank. And you are prioritized for funding because you can't get a traditional loan through a conventional lending institution. So we are looking at things like ability to repay, your farm business plan, credit worthiness, though we don't focus completely on credit score. And we work one-on-one with each individual applicant. It's not a blanket yes or no process. You will develop and maintain a very good working relationship with your lending officer, and stay in communication with that team as you go through the process. Again, this is considered a supervised credit process. Your loan officer is going to work with you to create the best solution in terms of payment schedules, accountability, loan terms, and disbursement of funds that works for your farming operation, that best supports the needs that you have. Our staff, I believe we have 16 loan offices across the state. They are able to provide you the technical assistance and answer your questions, all the things that you need in order to figure out if one of our loans is right for you and how that process is going to work. Like I said, we don't make approval decisions based solely on credit score. It is still important, of course, to maintain a good credit score, but instead of focusing on that score, we're going to look at your credit history, your payment schedules, past due accounts. As I said, a farm business plan is vital when it comes to these loans. And our staff is going to help you fill out the application. And so do all of the things that you need to do. The best way to know if one of these loans is going to be right for you is to just sit down and meet with an officer. They're going to give you feedback, and as long as you provide them with realistic, honest, and detailed descriptions about your finances and your business plans and expenses, then they're going to be able to know, can we help you with one of our loans, whatever loan that might be, because they come in a wide variety. I've already mentioned the stuff that's on this slide. I tend to talk ahead of a slide and forget to change slides, but these are the basic overview of the requirements of what an applicant must have when you are applying for one of our direct or guaranteed loans. So as I said, you have to be unable to obtain sufficient credit at a traditional lending facility. You must be a citizen or legal resident, possess the legal capacity to incur the loan obligation, have acceptable credit history, though that isn't the be-all, end-all of the decision process, and be the owner, operator, or tenant operator of a farm. You also can't be delinquent on federal debt. You have to have the managerial ability to repay the loan. That's where that farm business plan is going to come in, be so important. We can't have given you debt forgiveness on a previous loan, and you can't have been convicted of growing a controlled substance. We've already talked about that. I'm going to skip that slide. So our loans, we have, when it comes to direct loans, those are loans where you're working straight with us. We are the lender, we FSA. You're working with one of our farm loan teams, and we're the ones that we're the only ones you're going to work with, as opposed to a guaranteed loan where you are actually working with a traditional lending institution who is approved to be a guaranteed lender through USDA. And those lenders, what that's going to do, they're going to be your primary lender. So it might be the bank that you already bank with, but you just, our guaranteed loans get you a better interest rate, and oftentimes better terms as well than what would be offered through that traditional lenders or conventional lenders terms. And what happens with that is, like I said, you work with that bank, but we, FSA, comes alongside and guarantees that loan through federal funding. So that's a little bit different than working with us directly. But for both kinds of loans, we offer operating loans, and these loans can be used to purchase equipment, livestock, production expenses. You can use them to refinance operating expenses that you already have a loan on. These loans are generally repaid in 1 to 7 years, depending on what kind of a loan it is. For livestock, it's going to be faster, obviously, than for some forms of equipment. And you can also borrow up to $400,000 on an operating loan. We also, as I said, offer farm ownership loans. These can be direct or guaranteed as well. These are used to purchase land, make capital improvements, certain kinds of soil and water conservation improvements. You can also use these on loan closings. They can also include loan closings and related expenses. They are up to 40 years in length and can be up to $600,000. We have microloans. That can be very beneficial, especially for beginning farmers. And under the supervised credit, our teams will often work with you to start small and build up, so that you can build that credit, establish that history, that supervised history, and graduate into conventional lending. And so microloans can be a really great way of taking care of smaller expenses, or starting small while you try to see exactly where you want to grow your operation. They can be used for operating expenses, such as startup expenses, seed, fertilizer, that kind of thing. We also have ownership loans under the microloan category. These have a limit of $50,000. That's why they're considered a microloan. The application process is a little bit faster. There's slightly less paperwork than with the larger direct or guaranteed loans. Keep in mind, it's a federal government loan, so there's going to be a lot of paperwork. But with a microloan, there is slightly less paperwork. Operating loans here, again, can 1 to 7 years on the length, and ownership loans on a microloan are only up to 25 years on length there. We talked about what our guaranteed loans are. They're made and serviced by an approved ag lender. And like I said, these are at conventional lending institutions. There's a number of them across the state. If you're not sure if your bank is approved for that, but you have a good working relationship with a loan officer at a traditional bank, just ask, hey, I'm interested in knowing more about, these guaranteed loans that the Farm Service Agency does. Are you approved? Are you an approved lender for that? And if not, can you refer me to someone that I could work with on that? And if that's not a conversation you want to have, then you can also reach out to us, and you can reach out to one of our loan service centers, and they can put you in contact with someone who is a guaranteed lender in your area. You have to be able to meet the general eligibility requirements, be unable to obtain the loan without a guarantee, and again, have a good farm plan. So this is going to be where your traditional bank is like, well, we're not quite sure we want to make you that loan, but if we can get you approved for a guaranteed loan with FSA, we'll make that loan with FSA's guarantee, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're helping to guarantee that payment just in case something goes wrong. There at the bottom, you can see what the limit is on our guaranteed loans. And again, just reach out and see if there's somebody else. Beginning and underserved farmers on guaranteed loans, you can get 90 to 95% of that loan you can get up to 95% finance. Sorry, lost my words there for a minute. Okay, we also have a beginning farmer down payment loan. The terms are a bit different from the direct farm ownership loan on this one, as there is a minimum down payment required. On our direct ownership loans, there is no down payment required. And FSA's portion of the loan here is going to be a little bit different. We're going to finance 45% of the loan, and the remaining 50% is going to be covered by a commercial lender with a period of up to 30 years. The interest rate on this one is negotiated with the conventional lender, because this is just considered a down payment loan. So it's just a way of helping beginning farmers get a little bit, get a leg up and be able to get some of that conventional lending with this additional money from the federal government. Yeah, and this loan can only be used to finance the purchase of a family farm. So again, this is a way of helping beginning farmers transition into agriculture. So if you have a family farm that you're wanting to buy, but you're just getting started, this could be a great loan to explore for some of that. And here are the interest rates on our loans for January. New rates come out every month. And so what rate applies depends on where in the process you are. I'm not sure on the different loans that interest rate gets locked in at a different time. But I did want to put this up there just so you would have some idea of where our loan rates are right now, in case this is something that you are interested in exploring. So the side on the left, the farm loan programs in the blue, those are our current rates on the loans that I have just given you an overview about. On the right, where it says farm program rates, those rates go with our farm storage facility loan program. Unlike the loans we just talked about, farm storage facility loans are not supervised credit. Anyone can apply for one of these loans. They are guaranteed by the commodity that you are going to store. So farm storage facility loans are often used for purchases like grain bins and hay storage, if hay storage is something that you're needing. But on the other side, they also can be used to purchase things like cold storage for our fruit and vegetable growers out there, cut flower growers. This can be very beneficial. Farm storage facility loans can also be used to purchase certain kinds of transportation, if that transportation is needed to get a commodity to market. And this again includes cold storage, cold trucks for fruit and vegetables, and for the smaller commodities. So these can be an excellent way of getting some extra financing, helping to get that operation kicked up to the next level when you've been growing for a little while, and you need that storage so you can get it to market, to the farmer's market at the end of the week or whatever it might be. You'll also see on there that we offer commodity loans. These are loans where if you're growing corn, beans, wheat, usually these are used for our the larger grain-based commodities. Although we do also, I believe we have these for wool producers as well, possibly. These are you borrowing the money to put the crop out, and then you pay the loan back as you sell the crop. So that's something to keep in mind if you grow those sorts of crops, that we can make an eligible commodity loan on. Your local farm service agency team, whether they are a loan team or a farm programs team, can answer questions about the farm storage facility loans and the commodity loans. And then, like I said, we have farm loan teams in 16 service centers across the state. All counties are covered. They're just, the loan teams are slightly more regional than the farm program teams are. Okay. That was short. I just wanted to give a brief overview this morning while we were talking about financing options. As you can see from what I've said so far, we do offer quite a number of different options. There's a farmers.gov website you can go to and explore some of these options on your own. There's more information about all of these programs on that website. And there is also a loan discovery tool on there. And that tool can help you answer some basic questions about your personal eligibility for some of these different kinds of loans that I've talked about. But I always want to caution people, the tool is great. It's a really good way to get started, but don't let the answer to that tool keep you from exploring further. You may go through that tool and there may be a question you answer. One of the ones that gets that hangs people up a lot is there's a requirement that you have to have 3 years of experience to get a loan. And that even includes our beginning farmer loans. We have pools of funding set aside for direct or for ownership and operating loans, both for beginning farmers, but you have to have 3 years of experience. And so, the tool is that it's just a tool. It gives you an idea of whether or not you might qualify. But just because it says you don't qualify doesn't necessarily mean that, because our loan officers are trained to work one-on-one to evaluate your personal situation in ways that an online tool just can't do. And so there are substitutions that can be made to meet that requirement. There are some educational substitutions, some job experience substitutions, and there's not a one-size-fits-all answer to that question. So I encourage people to use the tool to get some idea. And it is a really great tool to help you know what documentation you might want to put together, what kinds of questions you might get asked when you visit one of our offices. But again, if it says, oh, you're not eligible or none of these loans will quite work for you, don't let that be the end answer. Just let that be the start. And then make an appointment with one of our loan officers and say, hey, I want to talk about this. Is there any way that I'm eligible? What information do I need? Is this something I need to keep in mind for a few years down the road? Because it doesn't hurt to go ahead and talk with someone, even if maybe you can't meet that 3-year experience rule right now. If you already know what it takes to meet that rule, then you can be building towards meeting that for a year or 2 years in the future, or whatever it needs to be. Maybe it's a good idea to have that conversation so that you can know, okay, I have a goal in 5 years of growing my farm into, I want to double my size or my amount of crops. And if you know what kind of funding could possibly be available, then that can help you work towards those goals and plan for those goals. So it's definitely a good idea to sit down and have a conversation with one of our officers. I also briefly mentioned we have different pools of funding for beginning farmers. We also have set aside pools of funding for socially disadvantaged farmers. That underserved producer group includes all of our minorities as well as women. And so if the way those pools of funding work is that money is kept aside, and if we run out of money in the in the big pot of money, then we can fund people who meet those qualifications when we can't fund other people sometimes. So we definitely want to point that out. There's different ways of taking advantage of that money that's out there.